form and you've indicated that you have Parkinson's disease.
The disease is in its beginning stage. The signs of the disease are minimal.
You will need to remain still for the images to be sharp. Can you control your shaking?
Well, I think I can control my shaking for a short while.
While you're inside the MRI scanner, you'll be able to talk through the two-way channel. Hold still. The first image is about to form. Breathe normally. I'm going to take one cross section. I'm going to take one photo of a cross section. The doctor will examine the images and talk to you.
Either of you ever been in this room before? Either of you have a relative that had an MRI done in this room?
My father came here in July and had a scan of the bone marrow in his hips.
How did he feel about the MRI?
He thought it was pretty loud.
Part of the diagnosis process involves using an MRI scanner. The scanner gives an internal picture of a specific tissue. In some cases, CAT scans or X-rays can be used instead of the MRI. Before these procedures, the other option available was to surgically open the layers of tissue in order to make an examination. The hospital has had this MRI scanner for the last 5 years. The staff uses it to identify cancerous cells and to treat cancer patients. We also use it to examine the brains of patients that have traumas from automobile accidents.
That's unexpected. When'd you learn about it? I'm on the 3rd floor. I live in an apartment building on the east side of the city. It's about 50 minutes from the bridge. I have a view of downtown through my windows.
I have some of the MRIs. We took the images of the brains of patients suffering from extreme cases of schizophrenia. Many of these patients hear voices inside their heads. Some hear voices that seem to be coming from across the street. One of my colleagues, Dr. Raymond, treated a patient who heard voices inside her head. He treated her with a medication that blocks dopamine receptors in the brain. After taking this medication, the patient stopped hearing these voices. He took a snapshot of her brain and compared it with the brain of a patient who was treated with a different medication, one that blocks serotonin receptors. I have some of the MRIs.
Dr. Marlin,
Yes.
do these patients hear voices that resemble people talking at random?
They hear different types of voices. Usually, a voice stands out. Dr. Raymond's patient, she heard a voice that claims to be the voice of a dead man. This picture was taken for Dr. Raymond. It's an image of his patient's brain. And this is a normal brain. In the majority of studies, the lateral ventricle inside the brain of a schizophrenic person was larger than the one inside of a normal brain. Now, I'm showing you MRIs for an extreme case. The differences are more subtle in patients who suffered from minor cases of schizophrenia. I'm holding an MRI that shows an obstructed artery inside the brain of a patient. This is one of my patients prior to surgery. Look at the small clot inside the artery. After the patient is placed on the flatbed, the MRI produces three-dimensional pictures of the patient's anatomy.
Yeah, can you transfer me to the library's reserve section? Thank you.
The patient will go through scans that vary in length. The scanner will form an image in a few seconds for some scans. Some images will take a few minutes. An entire MRI lasts longer.
Who is it?
I started moving on Monday. My apartment's down the hall. Yeah, the landlord told us there'd be new tenants. There's a lot of furniture being carried around. So, you all settled in your new apartment? Ed. Thanks. I don't know much before that. My mother didn't go into the details. She spent most of her early years in a small town.
I can go as far back as my grandfather. He grew up in Ringham. He didn't have any brothers or sisters.
Did he like the town?
Sometimes he gave me the impression that he didn't, but my grandfather stayed in Ringham for most of his life.
What did he do in Ringham?
He became a carpenter.
Well, my father also grew up in a small town. He stayed in his town until he was 15. Later on, his family moved away into the suburbs of a large city. Wow, you got some nice radio clock. When did you get it?
Last week, yeah. buttons on my old one weren't working anymore, so. We've been sharing the room together since the beginning of term, but I rarely see her.
Need my neurochemistry book?
She's your new roommate?
She spends a lot of hours in the Failer building, and when she's here, she rarely sees me because I spend a lot of hours at the Auburn Hospital.
Todd has injured his hand over the weekend. He said that he's lost some sensitivity in his right hand. He's worried that it might be permanent.
Has he seen a doctor for the injury?
He's seen a doctor. The doctor sent him to see a neurospecialist.
If the damage was in the hand, the nerves were either cut or damaged, and has, yeah, it may not be permanent though.
Well, he was telling me yesterday that his hand hasn't gotten better.
The specialist may be able to do something for him. It's easier to repair a nerve in the hand than a nerve in the spinal cord.
It is puzzling that you can repair a nerve in a hand, but not the ones in a spinal cord.
Neurosurgery isn't my field. Sarah is actually writing a paper on nerve grafting. She has some photos that show the nerves in the spinal cord. There are places I'd still like to visit. I still haven't been to the main market. Food isn't bad from what I've gathered.
Well, your room is almost as spacious as mine.
There's an apartment down the hall that is larger. It has 3 bedrooms.
I saw this ad in the magazine for some apartments north of Bagwell. It's so much calmer compared to where I live.
Is it far from where you live?
No, it's not far. I can take a bus and get there.
Hi, I'm a new intern. I think I'm on the 3rd floor.
Sarah?
Oh, hi.
You're an intern at the company?
Yeah, it's my 2nd day. The bulletin board has a lot of notices.
Yeah.
There's someone else in Mr. Kintura's office.
Yeah. Did you recognize her?
The girl in the office?
She's the person that discovered Ed Brown's body.
Ed Brown. Oh. The student discovered dead in downtown apartment?
Yep. He used to live in my dorm, lived on a place outside campus.
Yeah, I heard about that on the news. I didn't know that was the same person.
You know, there's been 3 homicides in the past 4 months.
Yeah, on the news they keep showing where the homicides took place.
What happened in Ed's seems similar to the past ones.
How do you know?
Looked at some articles. A lot of the victims had similar stab wounds.
Oh, I almost forgot. I have your questionnaire.
Oh, great. Thanks. Thanks for participating.
No problem.
So what'd you think of the questions?
I think that you would probably get some really strange looks if you asked those at my dinner date.
Yeah, they probably have second thoughts about ever going on another date. But it's a small world, huh? I mean, we're in the same graduate program and interns at the same company.
Yeah. How likely is that? She's still in the office.
The other participants, well, most of them anyway, answered questions 3 and 4 the same way as you. You're the second person to choose to live on a deserted island in question 2.
Only for 2 days. I mean, I think it'd be a unique experience, but I have to stay over longer, then I wouldn't do it.
So for the second part of the exercise,
How long is it?
shouldn't be more than a half an hour. Most of the subjects were done in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. But my schedule looks pretty booked up this week. What about next week?
Is Wednesday a good day?
Wednesday I have something in the evening. What about Tuesday evening?
Around 7 p.m.?
Yeah, 7 sounds okay.
Okay, I'll see you 7 o'clock, Tuesday the 11th.
Where?
In this building. You see the hall over there? It'll be in a room in the middle of the hall.
The room before the meeting room?
The one before that. I'll put a sign on the door.
Okay, yeah. That'll be helpful. Well, looks like she's leaving.
Good luck.
New synapses will form inside an injured brain. People who have lost part of their brain through a stroke or through a car accident have been able to recover some movements in their arms and legs. In some rare cases, a very young person may have lost a great portion of one side of their brain, and the remaining side will develop new functions usually associated with the other side of the brain.
Mike? Is that you?
Haley?
There was a glass on the cabinet. I've unpacked some of his belongings.
These pictures look recent.
He mailed them to me a couple of weeks before the day he was stabbed. There's no date on the pictures. I went to his apartment to get his belongings, but the police had taken most of them away to be analyzed, except for some items in his closet.
When he was here during the winter, we talked about what he had seen. Then a severe injury, a little patient with Alzheimer's. We also talked about the other people in his group.
I saw the note on the table.
Yeah, the driver tried to deliver the package this morning. Raise your left arm as high as you can. Okay. It's higher than you were able to raise it during your previous visit. You should be able to get it even higher in the coming weeks.
It seems to get better every day.
Yeah, well, the nerves are still healing. The next couple of weeks, you should be able to regain normal movement of the arm. Now, the numb sensation in your foot, how's that?
It feels the same.
That's the trade-off that we talked about. I took a small portion of the nerves around the ankle and grafted them into your arm.
Well, there's little discomfort in my foot, and the numb sensation doesn't bother me as much anymore.
Computer room on the first floor is being moved to the second. I went to print some documents and a technician said the printers had been moved. Can you still print? They've got printers in the basement you can use. The computer room on the second floor should be available to print tomorrow. Yeah, I'm taking a class taught by Robert Bree in the spring. I took a look at biology with him.
After Friday, we'll have a long weekend with Monday off. How's Dad? Oh, well, biochemistry is one of the hardest subjects. No, hands-on dissection of brains and spinal cords isn't until next year. We don't operate on live patients. That doesn't happen until residency. Oh, really? God, I haven't seen her in forever. Where did you run into her? Do you think she remembers me? Oh, the last time I saw her was Lexington. Yeah, she only spoke a little bit about where she was going. Martin may have talked to her. No, Lori doesn't know her.
So we went to the restaurant across the street because the other one had closed. You know, everything was going okay. I ordered a salad and Amy ordered the shrimp plate. You know, we really need to eat, we were starving. So she starts eating, you know, several bites of her shrimp and all of a sudden she feels really ill. She actually had to be rushed to the hospital.
Just from eating the shrimp? Like, what were her symptoms?
She couldn't breathe, she had stomach cramps. She was actually diagnosed with an allergic reaction to shrimp.
And she didn't know she was allergic to shrimp?
No. She told me she's had shrimp many times before. This was the first time she developed an allergic reaction to the food. My hometown is near Terreland.
Oh. Yeah, I've never been to that town, but I've been through it.
Yeah, I worked there for a few years, so.
I grew up in Salisbury. It's like 40 miles from Terreland. But I go by the racetrack every time I commute downtown.
Yeah, I haven't been to the racetrack, but I've been by that large display for the track. And did you live anywhere else besides Salisbury?
Yeah, I lived in Pelham.
Oh, Pelham, that's north of the city.
Yeah, it's just north. So You shared an apartment in Towerland? For how long?
For 2 years. Everything was wonderful during the first year. We discovered we weren't as compatible as we thought. I ended up leaving the apartment we were sharing and ended up in another apartment.
What makes a signal that tells a muscle to contract different from a signal that tells an entire hand to contract? That's a good question. When not entirely successful in some experiments, the brain signals are processed and converted into numerical values. The values can then be represented as pixels on a monitor.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry I'm late. I got caught in traffic.
I'm glad you're able to make it. Let's have a seat.
Right here?
Yeah.
It's cold outside today.
Yeah. Yesterday felt like summer though.
I know, by noon, everyone was in shorts and t-shirts.
I saw people on the lawn outside Dana Hall.
I know, the weatherman said the temperature was like in the 80s. So, these are the chips?
Yeah.
I can't experiment with them until next month when I start my psychology project with the company.
They're slightly heavier than ordinary chips.
Yeah, but they're still so light. Have you ever misplaced them by accident?
No, but it's pretty easy to lose them.
Okay, so what are the steps of the exercise?
I will place a chip on my right temple, then a second chip will go on your right temple. I'll ask you to close your eyes, clear your mind, and then I'll ask you a series of questions. For each answer, an image should form inside my mind.
So the chips help you see like the thoughts that a person has?
Some of the thoughts that the chip's able to interpret. I'll see a basic composition of geometric objects.
But nothing else.
Not at this point.
So then will I be able to see your thoughts too?
No, the chips report let information flow in one direction only. You won't see any of my thoughts. But at the end of the questionnaire, we'll switch them. You'll have a chance to ask me the same questions and see my thoughts.
Yeah, the people I've talked to have said really great things about them, but still I haven't talked to everybody. Have you ever had a bad experience with the chips?
No. I've worked with 8 previous subjects. None of them given any negative feedback.
And there's no danger to the brain?
No. The electrical signals created are far too weak to cause any harm. The worst thing that can happen is I don't see anything at all. Sometimes the chips can't read the brain signals of certain subjects. And there's also a safety mechanism. When you want to end the thought transmission, either open your eyes or just remove the chip from your temple. You ready for a trial? Think of an object.
Any object?
Simple one. Wow, that was a surprise. Picture was so clear.
So what did you see?
I saw a cylinder. Was that what you were picturing?
Oh, I was picturing a basket.
Let's try something more elaborate. Think of a series of objects, one after the other.
I was picturing a flower. I was picturing a flower.
There was a flower, and then people? Were they people?
In my head they are.
Why were you thinking of them?
I wasn't. They just appeared out of nowhere. I mean, they're the same people that I saw right before Ed Brown was murdered.
You mean that was Ed Brown and the person who stabbed him?
Ed's face is distinguishable. Right up to the color of his eyes. I could see that his iris was dilating.
Wait, you had the same pictures in your head before the murder?
The week before it happened.
And the visions go away when you open your eyes?
They only appear when my eyes are closed.
But if you can see a murder before it happens, we can do something about the next one.
I mean, yeah, what can I do? I can't do anything.
Well, the police work with psychics to find clues when looking for missing people.
The pictures are in my head. I mean, there's no way to tell when they're gonna appear again.
Do you want to go on with the exercise?
Yeah, let's go on.
Okay, look, during the exercise, if you have another vision, can you let the entire thing unravel itself?
Yeah, I'd have to keep my eyes closed.
I had a glimpse of your last vision, but I'd like to see the entire thing. I'm able to pick up clues about the assailant. Several cubes are in an empty room. How would you arrange them? It looks like a hook? Or question mark?
Yeah, it's a question mark.
So, picture a flat surface. Out of the surface, one letter rises.
From the alphabet?
Yes. Sarah, are you imagining the scenery?
No, I'm not imagining it.
I don't recognize the house. Can you tell which house it is?
No, I don't recognize it either. It could be a house off campus.
Straight lines. They form a wall around the window.
Yeah, I see cabinets on the wall.
One cabinet is open.
Then there's a cereal box on the counter.
I only see the shape of the box. We're moving toward another door.
Yeah, there are two chairs by the sink, and one of them seems to have a piece of paper on it, but I think it's just blank.
There's an object. There's some kind of ornament on the door.
Yeah, it's a board. There's a small board on the door.
The image is becoming sharper. I can see someone.
It's a person. Yeah, I see a woman. She's wearing some sort of blouse. Her left arm is bleeding.
Where is she?
She's in a room. It appears to be very small.
She's throwing objects across the room.
What's in the corner? Do you see a hand on the wall?
No, I have limited view of the wall.
Yeah, there's someone else inside the room.
Who else? I don't see anyone. Wait, I see something. Do you recognize them?
I just see a blur. There's a haze over the face.
What is she doing?
She's facing the door. She's trying to open the door, but she can't get out. Oh, the vision, it's stopped.
Angie, it looks like someone left a book in the living room. Is it yours?
What we've just seen might not have really happened. Do you know the woman?
I don't know who she is.
Angie?
I couldn't tell where she was. The surrounding didn't have enough detail.
I only saw, I saw the inside of the room and just the outside of the house, and that's not enough information.
While I was out there, an ambulance went to a house on Lara Street. A woman was trapped in her room. She has multiple stab wounds and she's in critical condition.
I need some fresh air. Well, the wind died down. How much do we have left?
Well, got 4 questions left. We can finish another time if you want.
No, let's just finish the 4 questions and then we'll switch the chips because I want to be able to see a picture created.
A bright sun shines on the small waves of an ocean. You dive under the waves. What do you find under there?
the transmission?
Very good. The images were clearer than ones I've gotten of previous subjects.
What was wrong with the other ones?
Some were fuzzy, some were intermittent, like a bad television connection. Some transmissions had no images at all. Who's there?
It's locked? Is it locked?
Yes, the handle turns, but it won't open. I don't see anything moving.
I don't hear any footsteps.
No! The chair! The chair next to the wall!
Matt? Matt? Are you okay?
I was having a terrible dream.
About what? You don't look so good. Oh, sorry I'm late. I was at a discussion with Professor from number 7.
I was dreaming we were exchanging thoughts.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting. How did we do that?
We had chips on our temple. They let us see each other's thoughts.
What was so terrible about it?
The dream, the guy who killed Ed Brown, who was trying to kill us.
Oh, that's some dream you've had.
I can tell you about it later. Let's finish the exercise. Have a seat.
Okay, so I've written down 20 questions. Do you want to take a look?
No, hold on to that.
Okay, first question. If you could choose between a truck, a sedan, or a sports car, which car would you choose and why?
I'll choose a sedan.
Okay. Is there any particular reason why you'd choose a sedan?
I don't need to move much of my stuff around. I don't know. It's just more convenient for me to have a sedan.
Okay. You can decorate your room any which way you choose. What objects would you put in your room?
Am I decorating for some special event?
No, I didn't have a special event in mind. So just you walk into your dorm room and you can decorate it however you want. So what would you do?
First I'd change the lighting. I'd put in a switch to let me dim the lights. I'd bring in 2 metallic floor lamps. And a wooden round table. The one I have is rectangular.
I'm writing down kind of a long answer. Does it matter if it's 2 lines or 3?
2 lines are good. 3 if you feel it's necessary.
Okay, so you're given a wish. You can change 2 events within the last 48 hours of your personal schedule. What would you change?
Within the last 48 hours. Thursday I attended lectures, but I didn't fully hear everything. I was half asleep. Wednesday night I would have gone to bed like 2 hours earlier. I wouldn't have been so exhausted.
In your dreams, do you ever fly?
I was flying one time last month. I was floating several feet above the ground. And I was floating forward.
Did you have control over your flight?
I left the ground, but I had trouble gaining altitude. And I wanted to go faster, but I couldn't.
So you were walking, and you decided to leave the ground. Were you being chased?
I don't remember all the parts. But I wanted to leave the ground.
Did you land back on the ground during the dream?
I floated above it for what seemed like minutes.
Before that dream, do you remember any other times when you dreamt that you were flying?
That one was really vivid. I don't remember any other times.
We're down to number 15.
I was trying to get into the lab. There are 6 digits to the access code. Now, what are the last digits to the access code?
My cell phone.
What the the chair, it knocked him out.
The chair knocked him out?
The chair, it just lifted itself up and pushed him against the wall.
I'm in the corporate building. I'm in the room right before the meeting room. Someone's been stabbed. The murderer's still in the building. No, I'm fine. Sarah. Austin.
That chair moved just like the ones in my dream.
Sarah.
Did you call me?
No, I didn't. But I did hear a voice call your name.
I'm over here.
Sarah, did you hear that?
Yeah. I heard I'm over here.
I don't see anyone.
You can't see me, but the two of you can hear me. No one else seems to be able to hear me talk. Can you tell where I am?
Yeah, you're right in front of me.
I don't have a shape, and neither of you can touch me.
There's no one near the chair.
I didn't have that same feeling in my hands after that night. I can sometimes move objects.
How can you move objects?
I'm having a difficult time moving that chair. I can see myself having arms, and with my arms, I can feel the object, and I can push it.
Well, can you move my backpack?
The bag is too heavy. I couldn't hold on to it. I can lift the ruler.
Craig, what happened after you collapsed?
I saw myself lying on the ground. The person on the ground wasn't moving. I felt dizzy, and I walked into the front yard of the house.
Did you know you'd been stabbed?
I recognized myself on the ground, and I remembered being stabbed. I waited outside the house. I waited to see what was going to happen. I didn't want to go back into it. I talked to people walking by, but no one responded.
Craig?
The ruler's becoming heavy. It's passing through my fingers, through my hand.
Craig? Craig? Are you still in the room?
Eric Nelson is going through an evaluation of his mental state. They still have a lot more questions to ask him. I thought what he was doing inside the Paroles Company building. Eric Nelson was trying to get into research laboratory. He walked to an employee who was working that night and asked the employee to open up the lab for him. And when the employee wouldn't open up the lab for him, Eric Nelson began to strike him. Eric Nelson lives in a town nearby. He worked for the Paroles Corporation until last year. He says that he'd been hired to obtain some confidential research data from the Paroles Corporation. This would explain the connection between him and his other victims. They were working on the same research project.
So do you have any other strange sensations, discomforts, anything that you haven't mentioned to us already?
I missed a stair step Friday night, and I fell on my right arm.
Okay. Do you want to show us the spot?
Right there.
Does it hurt intensely?
No.
Lift your left arm as high as you can, please.
I can raise my arm and perform most of the motions that I could perform before the accident.
No, he was unconscious. I followed him outside when the cops escorted him to the car and tossed him in the back seat. Yeah, apparently he may have committed crimes in other states. And he lives a few miles from here. Oh, did you see Steve? Yeah, he was in Dana Hall yesterday. He came back Sunday. I was talking to him. He says his brother is staying in an area with a lot of hot mineral springs. Centerville. The places are all around there. My uncle stayed in the area last year. He showed me a picture. There's a lot of places you can stay and swim in the spring. He says a lot of tourists go there to swim in them. Yeah, apparently it's one of the area's main attractions. Some people go there to swim in the water for therapeutic reasons. He stopped there on his way back. He says in some places the water can be really hot. Yeah, steam actually rises from the ground in some spots. Not very long. Less than a day. You didn't get to see the whole town. Craig?
My husband spotted a coyote near that tree. It stood there for several seconds, then went away. The area seems quiet. We have neighbors further up the road. I went to Quall Lake last summer. Some of the houses we used to walk by are still there. Did you see the new shopping plaza? Yeah. I stopped at a restaurant inside the plaza to get some lunch.
I live in a building near the subway station.
Oh. A wall used to divide this room into two smaller rooms. We knocked down the wall. We've been in this neighborhood for almost 2 years.
You've turned this into a really neat room.
We repaired the walls, then John and I painted them. Before that, you could see crack lines extending from the ceiling.
Were these taken while you were in Arrington?
The pictures were taken a few miles away in Bury.
It's been many years since I've been in the area. Haven't seen pictures of your kids. Is this Mike?
That's him.
And the young man in this picture is Craig?
It's Craig. The picture was taken last year.
He looks younger than his brother.
Had things been different, he would have finished his 4th year of medical school in June. We have a room next to the living room.